Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you want unfiltered global coverage, make sure you follow S News to catch this and all our future videos. Stick around for the full story. This one's going to be about 10 minutes long and you won't want to miss a second. Let's get started.
Despite the ceasefire reached between Iran and Israel, the 12-day war left deep scars, strained regional supply chains, and sent shockwaves through global energy and trade markets. Although the ceasefire is still holding, the full cost of the conflict is still being felt. So after 12 days of war, how heavy were the losses for Israel, Iran, and even the United States?
Yeah, that's the question on everyone's mind right now.
The fighting between Iran and Israel triggered a humanitarian crisis and caused serious economic damage on both sides. Bombs, missiles and drones rained down, hitting one area after another. This led to numerous deaths, injuries and extensive damage to buildings and critical infrastructure.
According to the Israeli military, Iran fired around 550 ballistic missiles and about 1,000 drones at Israeli territory during the conflict. Around 90% of these were intercepted successfully by Israeli and American air defense systems. Still, at least 31 ballistic missiles hit populated areas or key infrastructure, including a power plant in southern Israel, an oil refinery in Haifa, and a university in central Israel. Meanwhile, dozens of other missiles landed in open areas without causing damage.
The Times of Israel reported that Iran's ballistic missile attacks during the 12-day war killed 28 people and injured over 3,000. Israel's Ministry of Health said 3,238 people were treated in hospitals. 23 were seriously injured, 111 moderately injured, 293 lightly wounded, 138 suffered from severe anxiety, and 30 were listed in unknown condition. Most of the casualties were civilians. The Israeli military also confirmed that only 7 soldiers were injured by a single missile that made it through the defense system. One off-duty soldier was also killed in Beersheba. Israeli authorities added that more than 9,000 civilians were displaced from their homes, many of which were damaged or destroyed in the Iranian strikes. This war also put massive pressure on Israel's economy.
According to several reports, the Israeli government spent around $5 billion in just the first week of launching a counterattack against Iran. Though Israel has a stronger economy, estimates say it suffered losses between $11.5 billion and $17.8 billion, which is roughly 2.1 to 3.3% of its total GDP, about $540 billion. This includes military spending, infrastructure damage, and the cost of intercepting more than 100 Iranian missiles. If the war had lasted a full month, the total cost could have exceeded $12 billion. But Israel's losses weren't just from direct military expenses. Dr. Nasser Abdel Karim, a finance professor at the American University in Palestine, said that indirect effects, like reduced productivity and disruption of public services, could cause an additional $20 billion in damage.
On the other side, Iran also suffered deeply, both economically and in human terms. Over the 12 days of conflict, Iran's health ministry reported at least 610 deaths from Israeli military strikes, including 100 in the final 24 hours before the ceasefire took effect. According to a June 25th report by Al Arabi Al Jadid, another 4,700 people were injured. Of those who died, around 95% were crushed under collapsed buildings, while the rest passed away while receiving medical treatment. 3 major hospitals in Iran had to be evacuated because damage to the facilities made it impossible to keep patients safe. Israeli attacks also targeted Iran's strategic infrastructure and key personnel. Reports say that 28 Iranian scientists were killed, including 12 nuclear experts and 2 specialists in artificial intelligence. At least 20 high-ranking Iranian military commanders also died in airstrikes targeting military bases and convoys.
Economically, Iran is now carrying an even heavier burden. Already under decades of Western sanctions, this war has only worsened its financial crisis. According to analysts, the direct and indirect losses are substantial. Iran estimated its losses from the war at somewhere between $24 and $35 billion. which is about 6.3 to 9.2% of its GDP, roughly $380 billion. On top of the financial losses, US and Israeli attacks also caused damage to Iran's nuclear facilities, which led to a sharp drop in its oil exports. Key energy infrastructure and military bases were also hit, making Iran's already weak structural situation even worse and slowing down any chances of recovery after the conflict.
But behind all these numbers, losses, damage, and stats, there's something that can't be measured: human suffering. The cries of children who lost their parents, homes reduced to rubble, dreams buried deep in the ground with thousands of families left to grieve. The war might be over on paper, but for the people who lived through it, the pain is far from over.
Now that the skies are quiet and the guns have gone silent, the world is looking for a new kind of hope. Peace. Not the kind of peace that's just written into political deals, but a real peace. One that grows from recognizing the pain, from a shared desire to live side by side, and from a genuine commitment to breaking the cycle of revenge. Because in the end, nobody truly wins a war. Only destruction wins, and the world can only rebuild, heal, and hope through peace. The tragedy of these 12 days is a clear reminder. The path of dialogue, diplomacy, and humanity is worth far more than the sound of exploding missiles. Let's hope every nation, especially those directly involved, learns that the future can only be written by hands that embrace, not fists that cling to the past.
Finally, thanks so much for tuning in and listening to our coverage. If you want to stay updated, don't forget to follow S News and check out our future videos. Please subscribe, like, and drop a